Welcome to the Real Estate Jam session. Man, I've got a great guest for you today, Rod Khleif. If you've been in the business a while, you probably know who he is. He's got a great podcast, Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate. He has 13 million downloads. So he comes on today. We talk about mindset, what he's looking at as far as inflation or maybe dipping into hyperinflation. So there's a lot of information here. Make sure you check out the video and give us a like. Now, if you're new to the channel, my name is Joe Killinger. I've been a real estate entrepreneur for over 20 years. And I use this channel to bring on guests like Rod, and we talk about what the market is doing right now, what we should be looking at in the future, and how to be a successful real estate investor. So make sure you check out the video, and if you haven't done so, make sure you subscribe. Well, Rod, it's a real pleasure to have you on the show. I've been hunting you down for a while. Your story is phenomenal.
Thank you.
The fact that you've got 13 million downloads on your podcast is a goal I'd like to have, but maybe I'm reaching a little too much for our YouTube channel here. But, I think your story is so powerful. And I think, I'd love if you could take and really tell us your backstory, how you got, you lost everything, you came back, and where you're at now. Sure. Tell us that story.
No, absolutely. Well, let me go way back because I think it'll add framework to our conversation. So I'm an immigrant. I was born in the Netherlands, Holland, wooden shoes, windmills, great cheese. Immigrated when I was 6 years old with my brother Albert, my mother's Vansha. I remember coming over.
Right?
What's that?
With bad feet from those wooden shoes.
Oh, yeah. In fact, that's a funny story. But in fact, my mom, God bless her, proud Dutch woman that she is, thought it'd be a great idea to send me to school in those wooden shoes when I was, young. And so I got my ass kicked. And then the leather, she had these leather shorts the Germans wore for Oktoberfest. So she made me wear those as well. Oh, it was ugly. Found out what bullies were. And then the bullies would chase me home, or she'd chase them off with a fly swatter. So I got my butt kicked the next day. So, it's funny because it's something that I talk about, which is, dealing with limiting beliefs. And it created a belief in me that I wasn't good enough. And so we'll drill down on that in a minute. But, so I immigrated and ended up in Denver, really struggled when we first got there. My mom, we bought clothes at the Goodwill and the Salvation Army. We ate expired food. There was an expired food store. We drank powdered milk with our cereal in the morning, which sounds better than it is, trust me. And, and really struggled. But luckily, my mom had an incredible work ethic. So she babysat kids so we'd have enough money to eat. And with her babysitting money, she became a bit of an entrepreneur. So she actually invested in the stock market successfully, but she also invested in real estate. And her first real estate acquisition was the house directly across the street from us when I was about 14. She paid $30,000 for it. This is 1974. When I was 17, she told me she'd made $20,000 in her sleep. And I'm like, what? You didn't do anything? You made $20,000? Forget college, Mom. I'm doing real estate. So I actually got my real estate broker's license right when I turned 18, which you could do back then through education. Now they got smart and you need a little experience to be a broker, but I was actually a broker right when I turned 18. I could have my own office. And so my first year in real estate, I made about $8,000. My second year, I made about $10,000. But my third year, I made over $100,000, which back in 1980 was pretty decent change for a punk, And so what happened between year 2 and year 3 that caused me to 10x my income? Well, what happened was I met a guy that taught me about the importance of mindset and psychology and how truly 80 to 90% of your success in anything is your mindset and your psychology. It's only 10 to 20% is the technical stuff that we talk about on our podcast. It's the do and it's the keep doing. And if it was just the technical, there'd be a bunch of wealthy librarians and college professors out there, And so, fast forward to today, I've owned a couple thousand houses that I've rented long-term. I've owned, thousands owned thousands of apartment units. In 2006, my net worth went up $17 million while I slept. And you might be like, wow. And I was like, wow. And, I thought I could do no wrong. I thought I was a real estate god. And when that happens, God or the universe, whatever you believe, will give you a nice little smack. Well, that was 2000. That was 2008. I lost $50 million conservatively in 2008. And so, what I'm known for talking about, it really at my boot camps and on my podcast is this mindset and psychology it took to have 50 million to lose in the first place. But then as important, or maybe even more important, the mindset it took to recover from losing that to get back to the success that I'm blessed to have today. So happy to drill down on that if you'd like today, Joe.
I think it's key. I think, mindset is, if you want to be an entrepreneur, that's where you want to start.
Yeah, no, it really does start there. And so, well, so if you come to one of my boot camps, for example, and I've got one coming up, by the way, in July 29th, 30th, and 31st in Denver, which is really cool because I live in Florida now. And Denver, of course, is my old stomping ground. I lived there for 30 years. And so by the way, let me just do a little plug. If you want to come, I'll give your peeps a great deal. And if you're an agent or a broker in real estate, I know you have some of those listening to you, you're only as good as your next commission. You need to start building annuities for yourself, and ideally real estate. What do you know better than real estate? So if you want to come, I'll give your peeps a fantastic deal. They come for $197. And actually, well, that is what the pricing is right now. It's super, super early bird pricing. It'll go to about 700. But if you text Rod to 72345, or go to multifamilybootcamp.com. You can come for $197. It's not a sales pitch. It's 3 full days of training without it's not a big sales pitch. It's like, yeah, I'll mention the coaching if you want to get coaching from me, but you'll leave with what you need to know to go take action in this business. But again, that's Rod to 72345 or multifamilybootcamp.com. But anyway,
Rod, if you can send it to me at the end, and let's put a link at the bottom of the video.
Sounds good. Yeah. So if you come to that, you'll see that the first hour and maybe hour and a half is spent on goal setting. And I call it goal setting on steroids because that's really what it is. Because how the heck are you going to get anything if you don't know what it is, right? You need to know what you want with clarity. And as important, you need to know why you want it. So why? Because that creates what Napoleon Hill in his book, Think and Grow Rich, calls a burning desire. You've got to have that burning desire to push through those limiting beliefs like I was just talking about that, came from me from the bullies and fear of failure, or, just fear in general, or maybe you're comfortable and maybe you're an agent, you're doing okay, or a broker, or you've got some other business and you're comfortable, and the comfort zone's a warm place and nothing freaking grows there. Right. So, so you got to have that burning desire to push through. And so, that's what happened when I lost everything in 2008. I reassociated with what I wanted. And as importantly, why I wanted it. And so, that helped me create that burning desire. And then, the other thing is that's super important is you really need to pay attention to who you hang out with, because I'll tell you, show me your 3 best friends and I'll show you who you are, because you are the people you hang out with. And, so it's so very often that people default to people they went to school with or they work with or whatever. And, I will tell you, well-meaning people sometimes will hold you back. They'll, because they're afraid or they're jealous or whatever, they'll hold you back. And, because maybe they're afraid of feeling inadequate because you're becoming successful, or they're jealous or they're afraid. And sometimes it's family. So I would tell you, love your family, but choose your peers, choose who you allow to influence you. And so, let me describe, if you'll humor me, I'd like to describe that goal setting process only because it's so freaking powerful. It'll take me just a few minutes. And so listen, if you're watching this and you've got a pen or paper, I'd encourage you to take some notes. Now I will say this, if you want me to guide you through it, if you DM me on any social channel and just say goal setting, I'll send you a link, because I did it on January 1st. I do it every year around the 1st, and with music, and you get this guide you can download. I'm not selling you anything, just help you do your goals. Great to do with your spouse, by the way, or your teenage kids, just to really get aligned on what you want. But here's what you do. You pick an hour when you have a lot of energy, and you sit down and write down everything you could ever possibly want in life. All the stuff, the houses, cars, boats, jet skis, planes, write all that stuff down and take the lid off your brain. Imagine if you write it down, you're going to get it. And because that's not outside the realm of reality. There's nothing you can't do, be, or have. And I'll give you examples of this in a minute, but write everything down. Write down how much cash flow you want from your investments, say in 3 years, and maybe again in 10 years. Write down how much cash you want in the bank in 3 years or 10 years. Write down, and again, don't limit yourself. You want a private island, a jet, a yacht, whatever it is, write it down. Okay, because here's why. Just writing down your goals triggers something in your brain called your reticular activating system. And it's this It's this subconscious filter. You're not consciously aware of it, but it literally points you in the direction your brain thinks you're interested in. I'll give you a great example of this. When you first buy a car, you never really notice them. You buy the car and you see them everywhere. Were they there before? Of course they were. That's your reticular activating system. The same thing works with your goals. So write everything down. Now you're going to take it a lot further than just the stuff. I want you to also write down all the things you want to do in this lifetime. Maybe the places you want to go. Maybe you want to write a book. I've got a travel vision board, for example, of the places I've been that I love or places I want to, haven't been. But write down everything you want to do in this lifetime. For example, I've got a friend that's climbing every mountain over 14,000 feet. I think he just finished actually. Me, I jumped out of a perfectly good airplane about 3 years ago. I'll never do it again, but
on purpose, did your wife?
Yeah, on purpose. Right. That was my biggest fear was heights. And so I conquered that fear, but it's a funny story, but I won't bore you with it. But the point is, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about here. Then also write down everything you want to learn in this lifetime. If you want to learn a skill set, if you want to learn a foreign language, if you want to learn multifamily, for God's sakes, come to Denver and see me. It's a no-brainer. But whatever that is, write that down. And then lastly,
Rod, this is for all levels. This isn't just for beginners. These are for people of all levels in life, real estate investing, and
I don't care if you've got 1,000 doors, there's always another level. Okay.
Yeah,
truly there is. And I get people that have 1,000 doors come to my boot camp and get tremendous value. But the point is, and I get people that can't spell real estate come and get tremendous value. And I will tell you, if you come to my boot camp and you don't love it, I don't mean like it, I mean freaking love it, I'll give you your money back after it's over. No problem. Never happened, but there's always a first time for everything. And I've had thousands and thousands of people attend. Every one of my events is sold out. I had 800 people in Orlando in December. But anyway, so you've written down all the things that you want to do. You've written down all the things you want to learn. Lastly, write down who you want to help. We'll do more for others than we'll ever do for ourselves. And again, this is the fuel to get you to get up early, to stay up late, to grind for a few years like most people won't, so you can live the rest of your life like most people can't. Okay. So, like I bought my parents a house here on a canal when my dad was alive, bought him a car, took him on cruises. Who do you want to do things for? You write that down. All right. Once you can't think of another thing, there's a couple more steps. You need to put a time limit on each goal as to how many years you think it's going to take you to achieve it. And don't overthink this. Just guess at it. There's no perfection to this. So you put either a 1, a 3, a 5, even a 10 or a 20. Realizing that as human beings, we'll overestimate what we can do in a year, but we massively underestimate what we can accomplish in 5, 10, 20 years. I'll give you an example of this. And I'm going to give you a couple personal examples. Please know I'm not bragging because this, I want to inspire you. Okay.
We're here to learn today.
Okay. Well, I want to inspire you to what's possible. Thank you.
Yep.
So, back when I was 18, I lived in Denver and I knew I always wanted to live on the beach. And there's no beach in Denver. And so I would visualize the palm trees and the sand and the surf. And 20 years later, I built this incredible $8 million mansion on the beach. I owned the beach on one side. I had my boats on the backside. It was called a Gulf to Bay. It was like a slice through an island, but that was unthinkable when I was 18. So again, take the lid off your brain and write it down. Once you've got a time limit on each goal, pick your number one goal. I mean, that goal, when you get it, you're like, oh my God, you've arrived when you achieve that goal. Put that on a separate sheet of paper. Then I want you to pick your top 3 one-year goals. Put those on a separate sheet of paper. Leave some room in between them. And I'm going to tell you, at this point, you're ahead of 99.9% of the people on the planet that do New Year's resolutions that are forgotten by February. But there's a couple more steps, okay? Important steps. I want you to write down why each one of those goals is an absolute freaking must for you to achieve. Okay. And I mean, you have to achieve it. And I want you to use emotionally charged words. Words are very powerful. Words like beautiful, incredible, amazing, magnificent. Use those words because they will juice you. So you might say, so I can show my kids what incredible abundance looks like. So I can show my husband or wife how we can live an amazing life of success or whatever, so we can have the freedom to do whatever we want, wherever we want, whenever we want, bring whoever we want, whatever's going to juice you, write that down. Okay. And so put some whys underneath each one because the why that's going to drive you. But then once you've got some positive whys, I want to flip this. And I want you to put some pain in there if you don't achieve the goal and make it freaking hurt. So I don't feel like a failure. So I don't fail my kids. So I don't fail my husband or wife, so I don't live a life of regret. Why? because as human beings, we'll do more to avoid pain than gain pleasure. And again, this is the fuel to get your butt up early, to stay up late, to do whatever it takes to make this happen, right? So, and as far as regret, let me mention something. There was this nurse in Australia. Her name was Bronnie Ware, and she was a hospice nurse. Okay, so she took care of patients when they were about to die. And she asked him a question, Joe. And the question was, do you have any regrets? And she wrote a book about it. It's called The 5 Regrets of Dying. You know what the number one regret was? Not living the life I could have lived, living someone else's life, not doing what I know I'm capable of. So if you're one of those people listening or watching and you fear failure, please fear regret much more than failure. Fear being in the same place a year from now that you are right now, unless you love where you are right now. So anyway, you've got your positive and negative reasons why. Finally go get pictures or do declarations or do something like that. I'll give you some examples of this. Jim Carrey, the comedian, the actor, when he was flat broke, wrote himself a check for $10 million. He used to go up by the Hollywood sign and look at it and visualize cashing it. That's how much money he made for Dumb and Dumber. I'll give you a more recent example. Demi Lovato, when she was unknown 12 years ago, posted on social media, one day I'm going to sing the national anthem in the Super Bowl. Not this last one. Go watch the one before. See who sang the national anthem. I'll give you some personal examples for me. When I was 18, I knew I had to have a 4-door car to show houses, right? So I bought this bone ugly Ford Granada, bench seat in the front, just a real piece of you know what. And But the guy I told you about that taught me about mindset, he had a couple of Corvettes and I was dating his daughter. So he let me drive one. And I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I got a picture out of a magazine. This is before the internet. Got a picture out of a magazine, put it on the visor of that Granada. So every time I sat in the car, it was right there in front of my face. Within a year or two, I had a Corvette. I'll give you a couple more examples. This is back when the TV show Magnum PI was out. Okay. Tom Selleck was the actor. I think he was a detective in Hawaii, and he drove this Ferrari 308. It's the first time I'd seen an exotic car. I'm like, oh my God. I got a picture of that actual car out of a magazine, put on the visor of my Corvette. Within a year or two, I had a Maserati, looked just like it. Last example. I'm the guy that always wanted a Lamborghini, okay? And I had posters in my room growing up and different models, and the Countach was the one I really liked. That's not the one I ended up getting. But my son collected models of cars. When he was 9 years old, he had about 40 models of exotic cars, the Ferraris and the Porsches and the McLarens. And he had a model of the exact same color and style Lamborghini that I ended up getting, which I wrecked. But anyway, in fact, I'll show you something. Since you're doing this on YouTube, I'll show you my planner. This is my planner. I'm a dinosaur. Yes, I use a paper planner. It's kind of a light day because I have a lot of interviews. But in the back of this thing, I've got pictures that have been in here for 20 years. Now, the first pictures are my gratitude pictures. Okay, they're pictures of my kids when they were young. My kids are 30 and 26 now. Why? Because everything you get in life comes from gratitude. This is how you manifest things. You can call it prayer. I call it visualization, but whatever you use, you do it through gratitude. So these first pictures, you can see they're dog-eared. They've been in here for 22 years. Then these next pictures, that house I built on the beach looked just like this view. I had 10-foot high glass, 80 feet wide, with travertine floors, just like that before I built the house. Now this bottom picture, you can see the white walls in those bottom pictures, see the white stone walls. All right, look behind me. That's my backyard right now. I live in a compound now. I've got 6 buildings. You can see the white wall, exact same concrete wall. I've got 6 buildings here, big main house, 2-bedroom guest house on the water. I've got this media building I've turned into a video studio for my virtual events. And it's kind of funny. I lost that big house on the beach and all the craziness. And because God's got a sense of humor, it's literally right across the bay out my backyard. I get to look at it every day. Yeah. But then, other stuff like, I've got a few $100,000 worth of watches, stupid crap. That still is a vice. But there's the Lamborghini before I ever got it. Rolls Royce, Bentley, all the stuff that I got because I had pictures. And again, you may not be interested in any of this stuff, and I'm not bragging with this. I just want to inspire you to what's possible. Get pictures of what you want because they freaking work. Anyway, so that's goal setting.
Now I got a question on you with this. Now, let's talk about time frames, because I'm a firm believer, because somebody said the other day, if I give myself 2 years to build my guest house, I'm going to do it 2 years. He goes, if I give myself a year, it's going to take me a year. If I give myself 6 months, that'll be 6 months. And that's what his thought was on goal setting. What do you think about that?
Well, I think if you shorten the time window, it has to be based in some reality. Otherwise, your brain's not going to believe it. Okay. Right. Now, if you truly believe it, I mean, with your heart and soul, I believe you can move mountains. Okay. Now, but you've got to totally believe it. Okay. And I know that sounds a little foofy, and I probably lost a few of you here, but I'm going to tell you, I will sit in this recliner behind my green screen. You can see the recliner. You see my vision boards there too. I will sit in that recliner most mornings for just a few minutes, and I will just do gratitude. I'll do gratitude for my supermodel, beautiful wife, who's more beautiful on the inside than the outside, I might add. I'll do gratitude for my kids, my coaching students, my foundation. I'll just do gratitude, but then I'll do gratitude for the things that I want as if I already have them. And I know it sounds foofy, and I probably lost a few more of you, but this is how I had 50 million to lose and how I got it back. Okay. Is by doing this. And sometimes I get emotional being grateful for things I don't even have yet. Okay. Because it freaking works. So that's super important. Who you hang out with is super important. You know, like I've got a coaching program. It's called My Warriors. I was about 800 of them now, but I've been teaching a little over 4 years. They now own, I know, well in excess of 60,000 doors, that we know of, which I'm super proud of. And most of them have been done between warriors, because again, who you hang out with is who you become. So, you know, choose carefully. And then, you know, the next thing I'll tell you is, and then we can go into some technical if you want, but, you know, you've got to make a decision. Okay. If you're sitting on the sidelines and you're thinking, yeah, maybe you're analytical and you just got to check off all the boxes. Just remember a couple of things. One, you can drive all the way across the country at night, seeing 50 feet in front of you, and you know you're going to make it. You know, other people have done it. You may have some obstacles, but you know you can make it. It's the same way with success in business, and you don't have to see the whole path. You know, like Dr. Martin Luther King said, you know, take that first step in faith and the next step will be revealed. So make a decision, number one. Yeah. And when I say make a decision, I don't mean a 1 foot in, 1 foot out thing. You know, if you're going to attack the island in battle, you're going to burn your ships because you're taking their damn ships home. Okay. That's a decision. It's done. So you make a decision, then you take massive freaking action and you push through that fear. And I will tell you, success will be inevitable. So, and hang out with the right people. Have positive anticipation for what's going to happen, push through those fear and limiting beliefs. And remember, you know, many people have these limiting belief systems, but there's a reason that belief systems, the acronym is BS, because 99% of them are just that. You know, things like I'm too young, I'm too old, I'm not analytical enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough. That was mine. You know, whatever, those are BS. You know, and so recognize that, pull them out of the daylight, look at them with your adult rational mind, recognize their BS, and they'll ultimately diminish like mine did. You know, I used to be afraid of raising my hand in class, afraid of being picked on or embarrassed or speak up. I'd never speak up in a group of people. Now I speak in front of freaking thousands of people a year, you know? Yeah. You mitigate.
Very much the same way. It was always difficult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, but I agree. Everything you're saying, I completely agree. Just you got to start, and we find so many reasons to not start, or the next shiny object comes in, but focus.
Focus. I'm glad you said focus. Let me drill down on something on that real quick. Yep. Focus is power. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And focus is clarity. And so, I'll tell you, like, I remember I one time I had 2 frozen yogurt shops in Denver. I had a carpet cleaning business. I had vending carts selling ice cream bars downtown, and I was buying houses, and everything suffered because I had diluted my focus. So remember, focus is power. And, the most successful people on the planet have the ability to focus. And I will tell you, what kills focus is sitting there watching a movie, and I'm guilty of this, scrolling through social media while you're watching a movie. And why is that a big deal? Because you're making micro decisions every microsecond, and so you get decision fatigue as well. If you ever see me publicly, you almost always see me in one of these black V-necks. I never think about what I'm going to wear. My wife doesn't put up with them if we go out, but other than that, you're going to see me in a black V-neck. So I don't have to think about it. Again, decision fatigue, but focus. I don't listen to many podcasts. One of them is Tim Ferriss. Mm-hmm. He deconstructs, I get excited about my 12, 13 million downloads. He does that a week, I think, or something. But he deconstructs the best in the world at what they do, like the best actors, like, he said Arnold and Ed Norton, Jamie Foxx, politicians, sorry, that was a cuss word, billionaires like Ray Dalio, athletes like Michael Phelps. I mean, the best of the best in what they do. And I started to hear, and he deconstructs, their success, their path to success. And I started to hear a pattern, Joe. They all meditate. What does meditation enhance? Focus, right? Yep, anyway, I just wanted to drill down. Focus is so important. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it is. And do you do a lot of reading, or do you?
Oh yeah. I didn't go to college, but I have a library that rivals just anybody I've ever seen. Honestly, I have thousands of books, and I love to read.
That's another thing I see with a lot of successful people. They read.
Yeah. In fact, let me share some of my favorite books, because one of my books that I gift, my love language is gifts, by the way. So one book is the 5 love languages. Listen, if you haven't read that book and you love anybody, you better go get that freaking book. Okay. Because people feel love different ways, and you need to know how how they feel love. And I'll give you examples. I think the 5 ways are gifts, which happens to be mine. I show love by giving gifts, but there's touch, which is how I feel it from someone else. Words of affirmation, like, oh my God, you're so beautiful. That's one. Quality time, that's my son's. Words of affirmation is my daughter's. Quality time is my son. He doesn't care if we're digging a ditch. If we're together and we're having fun, he's happy. My ex-wife's was acts of service. I gave her hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of gifts because that was my way of showing love, but she could care less. If I did the dishes, oh my God, the angels would sing, the clouds would part, but I didn't know. So get that book, 5 love languages. So some of the books that I gift my students, because they give gifts for me literally almost every month, are things like the Slight Edge. And that's a book about those decisions that you make every day, little decisions that traject your life up or down. Okay. Things like having a burger instead of a salad, stuff like that, Slight Edge. Another one is Turning Pro by Stephen Pressman. And so stop being an amateur, be a professional. Of course, you've heard of Gary Keller's One Thing. I had his co-author, Jay Papasan, on the show. Keller Williams guy. One Thing is a great book. Let's see who else. Hal Elrod, The Miracle Morning, about getting up and journaling and exercising and praying and what else do you do? A couple other things you do every morning that are just extraordinary.
Probably a little bit exercise.
Yeah, had Hal on the show. He's awesome. So there's some great books right there.
Yeah,
so
I wrote them down. Yeah. I'm always looking for good books to read. I close out my night. I do a lot of meditation. Shut the TV off, put the phone down in the other room.
Good for
meditate, do a little reading. It helps.
Oh,
took me a long time to figure that one out. The meditation and the reading, it puts you in a different mindset that really helps breed success.
Absolutely. No, I mean, again, I was listening to these best in the world of what they do, and they all freaking meditate. So good for you. I wish I did more of it. I do a slight version of it. I need to do more.
Yeah, I just tend to put some music on and have an exercise room, go in the exercise room, just shut down, listen to the music, get on the yoga mat, just start. Yeah. And I love it. I feel like it really clears my head for the next day.
You bet it does.
So, there's one thing that a guy did very similar to what you were talking about is he has all the people that he wants to meet in a frame. There's just a little photo headshot of them in a frame. And he, he's got some of them crossed out, these are people that he's wants to get in front of, and these aren't big name people that he can never get in front of, right? He's not going to get in front of the president or anything like that. These are real people in the industry he wants to learn more in. And so he reaches out to them or finds connections. And so I think that's also
that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. There's a reticular activating system right there. I mean, that's exactly what he's doing, just like goals. If you reassociate with your goals, it's the same thing. And that's really what those are. Those are goals for him to connect with those people. And I would come back to you with something. If he wanted to meet the president, he could meet the president. So, that's the power. That's the power of that process. It is that powerful. Yeah. I mean, again, there's truly nothing you can't do, be, or have. Look at Elon Musk, $3 billion startups, love him or hate him. I happen to love him, but $3 billion startups. I mean, there's nothing you can't do. Truly. Don't tell me what you can't do. I just interviewed one of my students, a single mom with 4 kids that has done, gosh, I think she's pushing 1,000 units now in 1 year. And she's developing, she owns a bunch of units and don't tell me what you can't do.
Yeah. It's, we were the broker of record for the Boring Company out here in LA. And
oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we got to go into SpaceX and walk around there, which I didn't know much about Elon, but we got to know him because of him. We never met with him personally.
Right.
His team, which I swear that team was just what an incredible group he's put
and
together.
He knows how to get the right people around him. I know he's a brilliant guy.
That's the thing is the team that he has built around him, that we're running the Boring Company now. Didn't go anywhere here in LA. We sold bought a few properties, but it just legally there got to be some issues. And so they're not here anymore. They're doing other states that we're not involved with. But, you know, the team that he has around him, I was in awe. The way they think, you know, they're always thinking, how can we do this better? And that's one thing I noticed from them.
Yeah, honestly, that's something we do as well. I'm not going to compare myself to Elon by any stretch of the imagination, but you know, like I'm always thinking, what can we do better for our students? And like, here's an example. Here's some of the dozen plus books I've written, you know, that about every aspect of multifamily, and I give a lot of them away almost all of them away for free, if you know, on my social channels. But of course, my students get access to all of them. But the point is, you know, after one of my boot camps, the day after, you'll get a survey from me, you know, asking what you thought. And of course, 99.9% is glowing, but I'm looking for that 0.1% of things we can improve. Right.
Yeah. So, yeah. And I think it's, you know, it goes back to mindset, right? You got to always be thinking about what's next, you know, what's next. And, you know, that kind of leads me into something I'd like to talk about, if you don't mind, Rod, is, you know, we're seeing a little change in the economy, right? You know, inflation, some
little change in the economy.
Yeah.
I think that was the understatement of the year.
Hyperinflation as well. They were talking about this morning. What are your, I mean, I'm hearing brokers say, or investors saying, you know what, I'm going to wait for the discounts. And I'm like, I don't know.
They may not happen. Who knows? You know, I will tell you, we're still buying. I mean, I just added 2 more people to my acquisitions team. We're still buying and looking, kissing a lot of frogs. And of course, the rates coming up are hopefully going to impact values. They haven't yet, but they're hopefully they should. But there is a huge pent-up demand right now. I mean, it's insane. I think we're like short 1.4 million housing units this year or next. I forgot. I did a study on this. I did a talk on this. But you know, there's a huge pent-up demand. We become a renter nation. So if you're going to buy residential real estate of any kind, be it commercial, I mean, when I say residential, I'm just talking multifamily or houses. You know, I don't think you can go wrong. You know, and listen, values are irrelevant. It's all about cash flow, and it's very seldom that rents retract. Okay, and so. And if they do, it's typically like even in 2008 and 9. The reason I crashed and burned was I was in 800 houses, and I had several apartment complexes. It was the houses that pulled me down. And so, you know, my multifamily, if I hadn't cross collateralized my multifamily with packages of houses, I still own those apartment complexes because they only pulled back about 10 or 11%, and I could easily have survived. Which is the reason I started my podcast. Tell people, if you're going to buy and hold, for God's sakes, do multifamily, don't do single family, you know, for all kinds of reasons. And, you know, I just wanted to add, that was another example. I just wanted to add value. You know, the people, the wealthiest people on the planet are the ones that add the most value. And that was my mindset. In fact, I used to tell people, I'll never sell you anything. My first few episodes, now I'm a liar because I have courses in coaching, but I never planned to, you know, I just didn't. So, you know, I don't know where I was going with that, but what we completely lost my train of thought.
Family.
Well, yeah, but we're talking about the market. Yeah. So again, the market only pulled back 11%. Here's the other thing crazy. You know, within 3 years of the big crash, rents had exceeded 2006 levels. That's how fast it rebounded as well. And so, you know, I mean, listen, real estate goes through cycles. I've been through some big ones, just like the weather. You know, listen, we have been in summer for a very long time. I really believe we are in fall and what comes after fall, right? So, you know, we're going to have a winter here at some point. I don't know. Who knows how bad it's going to be? God, we won't go political, but I think they're doing everything they can to destroy this country. So, who knows? But you know, there is, the demand is still there. And you know, who knows what the impact inflation will have. I mean, I'm even concerned. I went and bought a bunch of gold and silver recently, and and I was in a lot of cash, and it's killing me to watch that cash just get eaten away. But I know that in a crash, cash is king. Okay. You know, and so, you know, it doesn't have to necessarily be your own cash. It can be access to cash. And so, you know, I've got a lot of investors as well. You know, so we can capitalize on what happens. If I hadn't been hiding under a rock in 2009 and 10, I would be on the back of my yacht right now. So,
I think if you stick to, you know your market, you know your numbers. You just you need to stick to that.
Yeah. Well, you do. And you can make money in any cycle. Yeah. Right. I mean, there is money to be made if the market does crash. And let's say, for example, you're in the real estate business, selling real estate, there'll be short sales again, like there were in 9 and 10, and those agents made a killing, so there's ways to do that and pick up properties at a discount and so on and so forth. So there will be a lot of opportunity. I mean, when there's a crisis, there's exponential opportunity. Okay. I'm just going to tell you, I'm rubbing my hands together. I mean, it's negative and people will have pain and so on and so forth, but there will be incredible opportunity.
I agree. Okay. We just had an office meeting here with our agents the other day, and, you see all this negative news about real estate, and, we're pretty lucky. We're in Southern California. So we don't get affected too much. We've got a big population, small area. We do get affected, but just not like a lot of the other states.
Well, you did in 08 and 9 though.
Well, yeah.
I mean, that was a nuclear bomb in California, Arizona, and Florida. I mean, my portfolio in Florida actually dropped 70%.
Oh yeah.
That's how much it dropped.
Mostly where our market is LA proper, Inland Empire, in North Central. Yeah, that did get nailed. LA, it wasn't too bad. So
really, okay. I thought LA was ground zero as well. I didn't know.
Oh no, we weren't. Inland Empire. Okay. You get Santa Clarita Valley, all Antelope Valley. Yeah, there was a lot of hard hit. But there's opportunity. I've got a lot of people that are just sitting. They've got all this cash, and they're still looking for deals. And I'm talking to them about what's your plan. They go, we're not deviating from our plan. We find the right asset.
Yeah, no, I will tell you, we are super conservative. I mean, hit me once, shame on you. Hit me twice, it's my own damn fault, And so, like, for example, I just bought an asset in San Antonio, and it was 296 doors. We raised about 13 million, and it could break even day one at 58% economically occupied, which is unheard of. And that was even, and the returns, 10, 11% cash on cash, I think 15% IRR. I mean, just fantastic returns on that asset. Yeah. But, I'm in a great position because I've got about 1,000 students, and a lot of them send me deals to review and all of that. And by the way, if you're an investor and you're accredited, and you ever want to check us out, we've always, got stuff going. Text the word partner to 72345, and you can get on our portal. And if we have a deal, you'll have an option to take a look at it. But again, I'm super conservative. I haven't bought anything in about 4 or 5 months, but we're heavily looking, and a lot of stuff on our plate right now. We're real close on a deal in Nashville, which is a market I really love. So, again, if you're accredited and you want to check it out, you're pretty good hands with us, and that's partner to 72345.
Okay. What markets do you have a specific markets that you're looking at, or are you just looking across?
I'll tell you the markets that I'm in right now. I'm all over Texas. We've got assets in Dallas, and, my assets are typically 100 plus doors, but assets in Dallas, Houston, we've got 3 or 4 in Dallas, 1 in San Antonio. We actually like Ohio as well. I've got an asset in a very wealthy suburb of Dayton that's killing it. We've got a couple in Cincinnati. We're in Indianapolis, which is a little further north than I'd intended, but they're screaming deals. And then I've got assets in Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Florida.
Okay.
So yeah,
around the South.
Yeah, I was looking at my map to refresh my memory of where we have stuff.
Yeah. Some of our team was in Columbus, Ohio last week.
Oh yeah,
man, what a great market.
Yeah, it is. I don't have anything there yet, but we do have Cincinnati and Dayton. Yeah.
Great market. Well, Rod, thank you very much. I appreciate you taking the time to come on today. Thank you for all the mindset information, because I do think that's key. Bringing positivity to your daily life and having the focus is key to it.
Every aspect of it. I mean, not just business, relationships, your family, your friends, positive attitudes, everything. Yeah.
Your enemies,
especially your enemies. Yeah.
Especially your enemies, right?
Love it.
Love them, and they'll leave you alone. Right. Well, Rod, thank you very much. For those of you watching, make sure you check out the video, give us a like, DM with any questions. I will put Rod's information down below so you can reach out to him. I'll put the link to his podcast. And Rod, if there's anything else that you want me to?
Yeah, real estate with Rod is the best email address because nobody can spell my name. That links right to my website, and there's all kinds of free books and articles and videos there. So Real Estate with Rod. Again, my boot camp. If you're interested in this business, for God's sakes, come to Denver for 3 days in July. I promise you'll be glad you did. $197 with no sales pitch. Kind of a duh. Seriously, if you're interested in the business. So would love to see it. That you can just text Rod to 72345 or go to multifamilybootcamp.com. By the way, if the price is over $197, because it'll ultimately be, I think, about $700, just DM me on YouTube. I'm on YouTube as well, or any other channel, any other social. I'm on every single one of them. DM me and I'll get you that price since you're a friend of Joe's for sure. Beautiful. So the 197, yeah.
Thank you very much, Ron. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, brother. Good to see you again.
Let's get you back on again soon, hopefully. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.